While the guidance of a loving grandfather was a tremendous asset for the Witten boys, life in the small town of Elizabethton presented challenges of its own.
My mom and dad had lived there earlier on, so people in this small community, they knew of my dad, and they knew of his habits and his addictions. And so you were going to get judged early on, regardless of the respect my grandfather had in that community. People knew why we were moving to town, and that created challenges and jealousy and concerns for everyone. And so the cat was out of the bag from that standpoint, and knowing that other people knew why you were there as a young kid that's concerned about what others think of him, it made it challenging. But we got to experience things with our family, dinner around the table every night, and big family in one little house, and those are memories that always put a smile on my face.
As Jason adjusted to small-town life in Tennessee, his prowess as an elite athlete began to emerge. By his sophomore year in high school, Witten was already a force on the varsity team. His time and focus was predominantly spent on sports, but like most teenage boys, the allure of the opposite sex began to creep into his field of view. Fortunately for Jason, the young lady that first caught his eye gave good reason to look no further.
I was at a county fair with some buddies, and we had seen her, and it's a small town, so I had known of her, and obviously I thought she was attractive, and my buddy was trying to set us up, and Michelle really wasn't going for it, so I had a little work to do. But growing up there, she was an unbelievable athlete and cheerleader, and just family was class act. That was something I wanted to be a part of.
He was super shy, and he just laughed a lot, and you could tell that he grew up different than I did, not in a bad way, but just I was able to travel a lot, go on great family vacations. You don't realize that's not normal, or that everybody else doesn't do those things. So it was fun for me, and my family loved blessing him as well, taking him places. I'd order my track shoes, and we'd get Jason's track shoes too, and he was just so excited, and you didn't think of anything other than getting new shoes for the season, but that would be a big deal to him, and it's kind of neat to see those things in his eyes.
As Jason entered his senior year of high school, scholarship offers began to roll in. The offers were many, but in the end, only 2 schools were in the running.
I think that Jason, the reason he wore number 1 in high school was because of Leonard Little and Tennessee, and he always wanted to play Tennessee defense. And for me, it was like, do what you want to do what is in your heart. And of course, yes, I was a huge Tennessee fan. My dad went to school there, my brother, and I was in college there. And, for me, in my mind, I was like, your brother gets to play Division I football at Virginia Tech. If they have to split it up over the weekends, that's really not that big of a deal. It's a good problem to have. And so, my mindset was, you've been blessed to play football with your brother your whole life, but, it's okay if you want to go to Tennessee, and it's okay if you want to play Tennessee defense.
Just being recruited was so special, and a lot of that had to do with Sean. Sean was 1 year older than I was, and so some of those schools started to come in to look at him, and they saw me as well, and so we really, all of us wanted to go to Tennessee. Tennessee won a national championship in 1998. Sean was coming out the next year. I was coming out the following year, and so we grew up Tennessee fans.
Well, Jason's brother, Sean, was quite a football player himself, and I came up and for the first time, had met his grandfather, and we had a tremendous visit. I call him the commissioner. He's just an unbelievable person, and he was telling me about Sean. I was an assistant coach at the time, I believe, and it ended up Sean went to Virginia Tech. So when I heard about Sean, I also heard about little brother, who was actually a bigger brother, Jason Witten. Didn't take long to find the film and see that both of them are really fine players.
On National Signing Day, Jason Witten officially became a Tennessee Volunteer. Ironically, for those of us who have become accustomed to seeing his pass-catching skills in the NFL, Witten entered his freshman year on the opposite side of the ball.
You recruit guys, and until you get them to campus, you really don't know for sure what they're going to be. Some you might, but most of them you don't. I'd seen Jason play basketball, not just football. I knew he was a heck of an athlete, great athlete. He wanted to play defensive end, and we'd had a great run of fantastic defensive ends, and I didn't know for sure that was his forte. He could have probably played there. Would he have excelled as much as he did? I don't know. I don't think so. Jason made me promise him that I wouldn't move him in the recruiting process. So now you kind of got just more than a professional thing. You've got a real personal thing involved. And when we sat down and talked about it, Jason, I know I told you this, but I think it's going to be in the long run a lot better for you. If you'll move to tight end, I think you can really, really be a special player.
I had made it clear when I was getting recruited I didn't want to play tight end, and I thought I could make it as a defensive player. I think the biggest concern there was I was actually anxious to do it in some small way because I knew I was going to play more. And I was just a small town kid that loved football and wanted to play. And there was a lot of good players in front of me my freshman year, and so this was a way to get me on the field. However, I was concerned if I went there, I would never have a chance to go back. And that was what was most concerning for me.
He was mad at me. I kid about it. I don't know how long it was, but it was a long time. I usually tell everybody it was 6 weeks. Probably wasn't 6 weeks. He didn't speak to me. I did purposely wait till school had started, to be honest with you, because then I knew he couldn't transfer right then, and hopefully he would settle in and find his niche. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it was just so obvious almost on the first day that this was where this young man belonged, for a variety of reasons. Big, strong, powerful guy that could run and catch, and I think it's worked out pretty well for him, and I bring that up to him on occasion.
I guess there's an old saying, coaches always know best, and Coach Fulmer did, and man, did he invest in me and really teach me a position on the fly. I mean, think about that in the SEC, going from playing defense 1 week to playing offense against some of the toughest talent in the country. And he didn't blink in putting me in that opportunity and trusting me and knowing that I would come out on the other side being a better football player. Obviously, my life wouldn't be the same if he didn't make that decision.
Jason was used sparingly his freshman year, recording only a single catch from the tight end position. Over the next 2 seasons, he added 68 receptions, the third most for a tight end in school history. For Jason, one of the top-ranked tight ends in the country, the move to the next level was imminent, and the time was now.
You think of really the last 8 years and where your life's come from, and from literally being on the side of the road on the middle of the interstate to have an opportunity to leave after your junior year and go play in the NFL.
From the depth of adversity to the threshold of his lifelong dream, Jason entered draft night with the highest of hopes. But a funny thing happened on his way to the NFL.
I think when all that was going on, in the back of my mind was thinking, gosh, screwed up again, you know, and you never know if you're going to get that opportunity back.
With the first choice in the 2003 draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Carson Palmer, quarterback from Southern Cal. The Dallas Cowboys select Terrence Newman, cornerback from Kansas State. Dallas Clark, tight end, University of Iowa.
With pick number 38, Dallas has selected from Wisconsin offensive center Al Johnson.
By the time the smoke had cleared, Witten found himself still undrafted and waiting as the second round of the draft came to a close.
There wasn't many people talking. Everybody was upset, mad. Jason took that door off the hinges when he went through it once, slammed it open. He was upset. He'd been told a lot of different things.
He wouldn't have left college had it been in the third round, and so it was so disappointing, and we were all heartbroken.
It just happened so fast at that point that you felt like it just continued to get worse and worse and worse, and there was nothing you could do about it, nothing anybody could say.
But 5 picks later, Jason's future as a football player was revealed. Two things became clear as Paul Tagliabue declared Jason's fate that night. One, Witten would wear a star on his helmet for the foreseeable future. And two, he would be playing for a football legend.
The joy was that to go to the Cowboys, and I'll never forget his brother Ryan, just lifelong fan and just so excited. And that kind of made it like, at least we're going to an awesome city.
Once I got drafted, it began to switch because now I said all I need is an opportunity. I just need one team to believe in me, and I wouldn't change that for anything in this world because that allowed me to play with a chip on my shoulder. Obviously, I had to come play for one of the greatest coaches in the history of football, and Bill Parcells, and be a part of that first draft class. He invested in me. He felt like he got a steal, and he's going to show the world he got a steal.
It's been said that nothing in life is free, and Coach Bill Parcells' anointing didn't come without a price.
I remember I was working at Parkland, and he calls me at work. He was like, I hope you enjoyed your last day at work at Parkland because I know we're done here in Dallas. And I was just like, I mean, it's just such an emotional roller coaster your rookie year. It's tough. And when your husband calls and tells you that, you don't really know what to say. And you're like, you can't say, oh, honey, you're great, you're the best, because really you don't know what it's like to be there every day during the grind.
For Witten, the rookie training camp experience was less about his coronation as the next in a long line of dominant Cowboys tight ends, and more about his will to survive it.
That's one thing I knew I had was a will. I wasn't going to quit, and that stemmed from everything I've been through in life, and you weren't going to break me. You know, I might lose and I might get beat, but I got heart, and Bill saw that heart and made me a football player.